I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
And this is Fish Jelly.
It sure in the hell is.
Oh, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay. It's been a busy week.
Yes.
The weekend flew by.
As they are wont to do.
We had 2 birthdays. My mom and your mom's birthdays are days apart.
Yep.
But it's Sunday, so, wrapping things up. Mm-hmm. Today we're going to talk about the Oscars, which just finished. But We'll get to that at the end. First, I want to give I want to make a plea to these filmmakers or publicists or distribution places sending out screeners without subtitles. I can't. It's so hard, especially watching films where the characters have like a British or an Irish accent. Even sometimes people who have like standard American, like films with characters speaking like standard American with standard American accents, it's just very difficult sometimes without subtitles.
I agree.
But we watched a film today called
Bull.
And these characters,
which I enjoyed quite a bit, more than you did, I think.
I think it's good. But the characters are Irish?
British.
And I only understood maybe like 15% of the dialogue because there were no subtitles.
Yes. Yep.
So please, in light of CODA, can we be a little more conscious of people with hearing, like hearing impaired people like myself? It's just really hard.
You're not technically hearing impaired.
No, I'm not diagnosed as being hearing impaired, but or the shit is unintelligible. One of the two, like whether it's my fault or not. Subtitles are very helpful. But anyway, moving on to RuPaul's Drag Race, season 14, episode 12.
Yeah, that's still happening. Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the challenge was this episode?
The challenge was Moulin Rouge, one of the...
Rusicals.
I really don't like the Rusicals historically.
They're hit or miss. Because the quality of some have been like, what are we watching?
They're usually more of a miss. I really dislike... You're making these queens rehearse and learn lines that somebody else's voice is singing. So basically you're making them learn choreography, and then what we're watching... What the audio is usually terrible and corny.
It's interesting because yes, they're basically learning a lip sync
to something to like a shoddy satire,
to a corny song, and they're expected to bring a lot of themselves to the role, but it's like they're not really giving anything of themselves except facial expressions and choreography, which is already. I mean, I guess that's what a drag queen does is lip sync, but... I think
what contestants need to learn is that having the lead in these musicals is not good.
That's a life lesson.
It is. Like, the lead does not mean the best role, and especially in something where you really have little control over what your contributions are to that lead performance.
Well, and really making the most of what you've been given in general, I think is really handy advice.
Yes.
But in this episode, there is a role, the role of, what was the character's name?
Saltine. Which is a riff on Satine.
Which is like the Nicole Kidman character in Moulin Rouge. So 2 people really wanted it. Lady Camden and Bosco. And Bosco kind of pushed for it. Thinking that he needed or they needed to, advocate for themselves, and actually had the other queens vote. And the queens almost unanimously voted for Bosco to have the role. Well, not unanimous. It was split thanks to Diabetes, who was being messy, but it did make for good TV. So then Willow Pill had to break the tie. So Bosco got the role, and then we see that he didn't do with it what he should have.
Which I thought he was just fine. I thought he looked... I'm glad he was a brunette. They were a brunette. Looked beautiful. But again, that's a nothing role. It's a role of a woman being torn between 2 men.
Yeah.
That is also ill.
So Lady Camden was
the MC.
the MC, and she did a phenomenal job.
One of the judges made some comment about how the MC could be a throwaway role. It's like, hello, Joel Grey won a fucking Oscar for Cabaret as the MC.
I just think these people have to come up with like one-liners.
This dumb shit they have to say over and over.
This dumb banter that is just like, you're just saying things like with...
The MC could be a throwaway role. Any role can be a throwaway
Any
role.
role can be a throwaway role. So in the bottom were Deja Sky, Bosco, and Georges. And somehow Deja Sky is safe which was surprising because the runway theme was Mirror Mirror.
And that was a trash runway.
And I thought they were... When I think Mirror Mirror, I think of like reflective surfaces and a play on that. And I don't think any of them... Maybe, as much as I don't like Diabetti, I think her outfit, which was sort of an homage to Kiss, Gene Simmons, I guess, was very reflective. But like Angeria wore like...
It was blue.
Turquoise, and then her like nude illusion fabric had like sort of an iridescent quality to it. So while she looked beautiful, I hated the nude illusion. And then the reflective surface wasn't even reflective.
Right. Camden's was okay.
I guess. She reminded me of Betty Davis in The Queen, or
the Virgin Queen, just because of that nightcap scene.
From the nightcap scene where she looks like a Hershey kiss.
She looks like a little troll.
And then Georges looked gorgeous.
Camden was giving me more of like Tilda Swinton in Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh, sure. And then fucking Deja Sky had on an ugly outfit.
That's one of the ugliest. That could be up there in top 5 ugliest.
With Alyssa Edwards and
Lala Ree.
And Lala. Well, because it just didn't make sense. It wasn't even reflective.
It was so
well,
dumb.
I don't know if she, you know, to be fair, I think she was thinking reflective like, you know how like construction workers wear that yellow, or like runners wear that reflective.
But it's not reflection.
It's mirror, mirror. Like, I need to be able to see myself in your outfit.
Reflection's not the... That's a misreading, I think, of that challenge. Mirror... Yeah, I think you made a good point. And Evie Oddly, when she won, that would have been a great mirror, mirror outfit.
Yeah, Evie Oddly's outfit when she lip sync against Brooklyn Heights and won the crown.
I mean, why did nobody do the Snow White Evil Queen mirror riff? Like, or never.
There could have been a lot of like, you know, because when you think about magic, like David Copperfield and all, it's like it's all about mirrors, right? Smoke and mirrors. Like, I wish someone would have done something that was more of like an illusion, like they vanish. Or what would have been clever is if someone could have made an outfit where it looks like they're walking, but it's like their reflection.
Yeah, like
something like that,
like a Hitchcockian double, like
something. This shit was whack. But anyway, so Deja Sky ends up being safe. Bosco and Georges lip sync to a dance remix of Whitney Houston's Heartbreak Hotel.
To be clear, the Hex Hector.
The Hex Hector remix. And Georges wins, but we can't send Bosco home because she's
a front runner.
So guess who finally has the golden chocolate bar? Bosco.
Which is great because now we can get away from...
Now we can move on.
The drag gods.
Anyway, moving on. So we saw a few days ago that someone leaked a photo of the all winners season of Drag Race, which has been rumored for years that there would be sort of an all-star version of all winners. And so far in the leaked image, we see the Vivienne, we see Monet Exchange, Shea Coulee, Raja from season 3. We also see Jinx. I'm excited. Based on the rumor I heard about Canada versus the world, where no one will be eliminated, it's a point system. I'm assuming the only way they got winners to come back is to promise them that no one would be eliminated right away. Because that's embarrassing, right? You can't be a winner and get sent home episode 1. So I'm hoping the format changes. I also was listening to a podcast where they said that Bianca was asked of course. And she said she would consider it, but not in the current format.
Whatever that means.
So whatever that means, but I agree. Like, I don't think that if you're going to bring back winners, it needs to be something where all of them get to showcase their talent for all episodes, and then a winner is decided, or
I think a point system
or
is
a point system makes sense. Yeah.
with a finite number of episodes, maybe like across 6 episodes, you each get the same screen time to do these things. And
Yeah, maybe like an Olympics kind
Yeah.
of, where it's like you all get to do all 6 episodes, and then whomever comes out on top is the winner. But I'm kind of excited for that. Do you have any thoughts about all winter season?
I mean, I'm sure we'll watch it. I don't know. You know, again, it's great to see all of these wonderful queer people, but like it'd be nice for you know, even Bianca or Bob to grow beyond that universe of just being a RuPaul's Drag Race alum.
Well, I think Bianca has. Bianca is able to tour without being associated with Drag Race. And like Trixie Mattel is very big without Drag Race. And they're still drag performers. But I mean, you know, they make good money being affiliated with this franchise. So I'm not mad at it.
I think it's hard. I think it was hard for Divine. I think it was hard for RuPaul before RuPaul's Drag Race to be able to be multifaceted, i.e., be out of drag and be able to perform and have a career. You know, before Divine died, he was trying to have a legitimate acting career.
I do have an opinion about this, and we've talked about it before. I think as an entertainer, you're lucky enough to get one shot. And if you can take that shot and make something of it, then I feel like, I don't know that I think everyone has to have this long-lasting, multifaceted career. It's like you got the chance to write a few movies that were popular, and you made, you know, now you have, you know, you made $6 million, which you put in the bank, and that's like, that should be enough.
No, what I'm trying to say is, sure, that should be enough, but also I don't know that. I think there are a lot of very talented people that are, even besides RuPaul's Drag Race, coming up in reality television that will be forever marked by what brought them acclaim, and that in and of itself is also limiting.
I can see how it's limiting, but it also involves, so let's say you wrote a screenplay that, you know, became like a popular movie, and you made a little bit of money off of it, and try as you might, no one's biting for your next screenplay. You could choose to stay in Hollywood and continue and take a bunch of chicken shit gigs and do stuff that compromises your integrity, your artistic integrity, or you could move on. So I think, and do something else, right? Like work like you have been for the last 18 years. And like, I think that a lot of celebrities who have that one shot and are able to make that money and, you know, could have parlayed that into something else, when they don't, because, you know, it was just the roll of the dice that your next project wasn't a hit, or it just seems like you could easily remove yourself from that world. You don't have to keep your house in Studio City and still troll around going to auditions and trying to network. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You could move to fucking Denver, girl, and open up a coffee shop, or go back to school and be a nurse, or, you know, there are a lot of things that people can do. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for these celebrities and entertainers who get a shot, get some celebrity, get some money. Because, I mean, look at what we've been able to do with the little bit that we've been able to manage.
Sure.
So, you know, you're not going to get a lot from me, some person who made 1.6 million over the course of the 2 years you were popular on this TV show, and then somehow you don't own a home, you didn't buy a business, you didn't invest in any real estate, rental properties, you didn't save any money, you didn't fucking go back to school and get a degree in something that you could make a career out of. It just seems like some people just don't have the wherewithal to, like, persevere and
Sure.
survive.
Of course. Yeah.
Just because someone is talented on stage or can sing or dance doesn't mean that they have any like viable skills to like support themselves. You know, being able to sing is not necessarily going to pay any bills.
No, of course not.
I mean, ask Cheryl Lee Ralph in Sister Act 2.
Yeah, or being able to write. Just ask any journalist living in LA.
Moving on. So Aaron Carter.
Oh God, you're bringing that up?
Well, because I'm bringing this out
off the cuff. I sent you that screenshot.
Well, because it made me think that, I mean, this is a PSA for like people, you know, some people need help. And this segues from what I was just saying. Like, you know, Aaron Carter, who's the brother of Nick Carter. So Aaron Carter's older brother, Nick Carter, is obviously part of the Backstreet Boys. So he grew up with this famous brother. And then Aaron Carter became very famous as a younger person with his songs. And then clearly fell the fuck off. Mm-hmm. And it's just like making a certain amount of money or being like having a certain level of fame or a certain number of TikTok followers or YouTube views does not mean that a person is equipped to deal with the stress of life. Because it's hard out here.
It is.
I can barely keep my mind from cracking. Like, I don't know what it would be like to be rich and famous and have everyone poking at me. So, yeah, Aaron Carter got a tattoo in honor of his sister who recently passed. So he already had, within the past like 2 years, got a bunch of face tattoos. And now he has this big-ass ugly butterfly on his face. Anyone out there who's his friend, loved one, that man needs help.
He said it's dedicated to his sister?
Yeah.
Their sister passed?
Yeah.
Which reminds me of that song... Come, come, my lady, you're my butterfly, sugar, baby.
You know, like 2 years ago or like a year ago, he did like an OnlyFans type thing where he got on like the internet nude. And did you see those videos?
Oh, I don't watch it. I remember you watching an interview with him talking about that.
I watched some of those, and it's like, well, I was curious, and it's embarrassing. He has a very nice body. The face is a little cracked because I think the drugs got to him. Mm-hmm. His penis is not anything to, get excited about, but...
Damn.
No, I mean, it's fine. It's average, but it's just like, you know, the only reason people are tuning in is because it's Aaron Carter. So I think he's clearly fallen off.
Yes.
And then now he has this ugly-ass tattoo. Also, moving on, did you read about that man who was like randomly... The news story was there's this man randomly attacking people in Anaheim. Did you read about that?
No.
This man, he's caught on video. He only did it twice, which is 2 times too many. But he attacked someone, I believe, at a Target. And then he knocked out a library worker. And you see the video of him.
Is he an unhoused individual?
He is a transient individual. Mm-hmm. And he is a person of color. And it's just unfortunate. It's scary to think. But I often think, like, all of us are just out here living life, not, you know, everyone just walks around with so much confidence. I mean, like, you walk around, you know, it's like I always think about you, like, how you cross the street, like, no one's going to hit you. Or you go places thinking, like, nothing will happen to me. And it's like, well, that's great that you're not afraid. But we have no control of other people. And it I don't know. I just feel like the world is already a dumpster fire. And then you have people out here just committing random acts of violence. But this guy, I think the headlines, because it was local news, made it seem bigger than it was. And I thought it was funny because it's like this man doing this shit in Anaheim. It's like, I wonder how that would have played out in like Compton.
No, I can tell you how that would have played out in Compton.
You go to the Target in Compton and start punching some folks and see how that works out. So I thought it was funny that where he was doing it versus like who this person was. And because, you know, I think a lot of homeless people who act kind of wild, I think they're also playing a role. Like, I'm going to act crazy and get attention. It's like, well, they're not that crazy because they know who they can pull this shit with and who they can't.
Sure.
Because if 3 big old dudes who look like they would knock you the fuck out walk by, you're not going to play that crazy shit. But when it's like 3 corny looking dudes who look like they're going to run away scared.
Did you say corny or white?
I said corny. But it's just funny because it's like, you know, people act crazy, like they're acting. They're, you know, trying.
Some of them, yes. Some of them, you know.
Of course, there are people who are legitimately sick. But anyway, moving on. So you need to mention your 5 favorite releases of March.
We haven't done that for a couple months.
No.
It's been a crazy time since this new house gig got, you know, rolling. But yeah, it's the end of March. So all of the releases have come out.
Are these in any particular order?
Yeah.
So what's number 5?
Number 5 was, what did I write to you? Oh, Great Freedom.
Great Freedom.
With Franz Rogowski.
I enjoy. Is he the one with the hair lip?
Yeah.
I really like him.
I did too. Undina.
Yeah.
Yes, I like him a lot. And he, I think, is the reason to see that. I think that the film is kind of awkwardly laid out a little bit, but I did really like it. Again, also a recuperation of kind of queer history and how gay men were treated during Hitler Nazi era.
Well, we reviewed Great Freedom on our YouTube channel, so if you're curious about our thoughts, it's there. Number 4 is the movie X.
Yes, which is by far not a perfect movie either, but I did highly enjoy it and a lot of the ideas in it.
We also reviewed that. Number 3 is Deep Water.
Oh, you know, The Return of Adrian Lyne. And I read first of all, I think if you're out there and you love great mystery, intrigue, literature, Patricia Highsmith should be on your list. And if you haven't read Deep Water by Patricia Highsmith, I recommend that first. And if you can find a copy of the 1981 French film starring Isabelle Huppert, I think that's also better than this new movie. But it's also, the new one with Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas is a lot of fun.
This one is we also reviewed this one on YouTube, and there are quite a few comments. And this is one of those storylines where I think it's interesting when it comes to like the public and matters concerning like sex and monogamy. People have very strong opinions, and it's funny to me because I'm here to tell y'all, like, I don't know what kind of lives people live, but people are out here doing things that are what those 2 characters in Deep Water are doing is not this like wild and crazy thing. Because I remember thinking when I was a kid and hearing my parents talk about swingers. And I remember in the 80s, like, you know, Donna and Cliff are swingers. And there were a few people in our neighborhood who, you know, I remember my parents and their friends talking about those people being swingers and how it was so scandalous. And it's
the key parties of the 70s. Yeah.
And now that I'm in my 40s and married and out there in the world, and it's like a lot of people are out here doing shit that, you know, is not that wholesome and not rooted in monogamy. And it's funny watching or reading people's comments because it's like,
you know, I think we're all sold a great lie in literature and television and cinema about what love is supposed to look like, and trying, you know, thinking that we have to model what we want after what other people want. It's like, you need to decide what works for you.
I'm not against monogamy, and I'm not. But I think that you need to do what works best for you. And the fact that people are so judgmental, which is what I'm getting at with the comments, not towards us, but towards these characters, people are being very judgmental. It's like, you know, people have to do what works for them. And some of y'all who are out here like being so critical, it's like you need to take a look in your own backyard, because you probably would be, I know you'd be very surprised at what your significant other's doing.
Yes. I think that it's difficult because there's not there's not any real cultural support for anything outside of monogamy. So I think it's difficult to be realistic. And, you know, somebody once told me, communicating with anybody about anything is hard, and it is. It just is. Anyway, but you know, I didn't say this in our review, but in the review I wrote for it at Ion Cinema, you know, the 1957 novel is so far ahead of its time as far as human relationships go. It might as well have been science fiction then.
Number 2, Ultrasound.
Yeah, you know, coming back to that.
Did we review that?
Yes, we did, with
about the hypnotist.
The hypnotist. I think I liked it more than you did, but it takes a lot of risks and has a lot of interesting things.
It's very interesting, and I would recommend it.
Yeah.
But you have to pay full attention.
Yes, you do.
And your number 1 pick for March is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Directed by Daniels. They don't want to be called the Daniels, by the way. this will probably be in my top. It'll be hard to beat this film already.
Well, you gave it 5 out of 5.
I did, and I can't wait for you to see it.
I have to say, I mean, it's well documented that I do not like how you describe stories because you don't ever, you're not really concerned about selling it or what would be interesting to your audience like me. So I'm often frustrated when you describe movies to me, and you didn't disappoint describing this movie. And even with that in mind, I was still very interested. So that tells me that this is a very good movie.
I think, I don't know if it was Sean Baker tweeted or something, like anybody that's complaining about a lack of originality in cinema these days, if you're one of those, then you need to do yourself a favor and go see this film, because this would be for you then.
Moving on, films released we didn't cover. There's only one on the list called 7 Days.
Yes, which I think I had received an offer to get a screener, and we just didn't fit it in. It's directed by Roshan Sethi, his directorial debut. He was one of the screenwriters on Call Jane, notably, and it stars Karen Soni, who is an actor you've seen in a lot of things, including, I think he's that chatty taxi driver in the Deadpool films. But it's a COVID film. It's about these two young Indian people, Ravi and Rita, who it sounds like it's an arranged marriage thing, and then because of COVID, they get stuck quarantining together.
Moving on to movies we watch for fun. The first one is called Basic, which is a 2003 film directed by
John McTiernan, who...
go ahead.
John McTiernan directed the first Die Hard, which I don't love, Predator, which I do. This was the last film directed by John McTiernan in 2003, so damn near 20 years ago.
We have the actual DVD thanks to my mom, who likes to... My mom comes across a lot of... my mom likes to buy a lot of stuff and then give it away, and movies are included in that. And this was part of a box of movies she tried to give you, and then you sort of picked what you wanted.
Well, because I'd never seen it,
and I have to say, it's a terrible movie.
It is. Yes.
But I know this movie was entertaining because I watched it in bed with you. Mm-hmm. And usually when I crawl into bed, it is sleep time.
He doesn't get past the credits.
I don't get past the credits usually. And I watched almost this entire movie.
Yes.
There's no point trying to describe the plot beyond the fact that it's about Samuel L. Jackson plays a army general who's like the biggest asshole. And he's on this mission with a group of his soldiers.
In Panama,
and he gets killed. So now there's a mystery as to who killed him because several of the soldiers who were part of that mission are also dead. So now one of them in particular is being questioned by Tim Daly.
Yes.
Tim Daly and the lady. What's her name?
Connie Nielsen, who is Danish.
Well, let's get into that.
Okay.
But so Tim Daly and Connie Nielsen are questioning him, and then he's like, well, I'll only talk to another ranger.
And he was discovered, but two people in the unit were shooting at each other, him and Giovanni Ribisi.
So Tim Daly gets an old buddy, played by John Travolta, who used to be a ranger, to come in and talk to the guy. And there's twist upon twist. This story is so convoluted and so overly complicated. It's worth watching. So many. First of all, who's the lady again? Connie Nielsen?
Connie Nielsen, who you know is Wonder Woman's mother, but she's been in a ton of stuff.
She's supposed to be Southern, but she's really Danish.
She's Danish, and her Southern accent is...
Her accent...
It's bad.
Oh, it is a wild. Then... I don't know if I think John Travolta leans into the gay...
Like he's a bitchy gay man.
Yeah, and I think he leans into it because the rumor is that he is gay. But his acting and the script is terrible. The dialogue is terrible.
The dialogue is egregiously bad.
Yeah. But it's so bad that it's fun to watch, John Travolta... All of them. Connie Nielsen and John Travolta doing... Because they're playing off of one another.
He makes so many inappropriate passes at her.
My God.
And then she starts to come around to have feelings for him, which is...
It's outrageous.
Impossible. This was written by James Vanderbilt, whose second screenplay after Darkness Falls. It's also wrote Zodiac, the David Fincher classic, but those Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, the latest Scream reboot, and Independence Day Resurgence. So almost all of those are, and White House Down, are pretty terrible films.
If you want to watch a bad movie that will probably keep you entertained, I would recommend Basic.
The Secret, oh God, and so this was 2003, so before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed. Giovanni Ribisi is gay. And
oh, that's right, there's a gay element.
Whatever his gay voice, it is... it's bad.
And then there's a plot point, because one of the twists is that the soldier being questioned is lying about his identity, and then we find out by like from the doctor, who's also like, there's another twist with
Harry Connick Jr.
Harry Connick Jr. We find out that the Connie Nielsen's character, I believe, says we find out the one soldier being questioned is lying about his identity, and the person he's pretending to be is actually black, but the guy playing the guy lying is white. So then we hear Connie Nielsen's character say, like, well, like we don't keep track of their race. Like, how do we know? And it's like, what?
Yeah, that seems... And also, it feels like Mr. Vanderbilt, the screenwriter, and everybody involved, actually, the secret organization in that everybody's involved in is called Section 8.
Yeah.
Apparently, they've never heard of Section 8 housing.
Okay, we need to get through. There are quite a few of these movies. We need to get through them.
Okay.
So we were stuck in a hotel earlier this week, and we watched Home Alone 2: Lost in New York. I don't think I had ever seen it. I enjoyed it.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
I have to say, Macaulay Culkin is adorable.
He was a cute
as
kid.
Kevin McAllister.
Yes.
He is adorable. And the violence in this movie,
oh my God,
is outrageous. I can't believe that kids were watching this.
It's
all premeditated.
Oh,
it is
yeah.
extremely violent.
Which is weird, because I think his parents said that they would only allow him to do the sequel as if he could do The Good Son, which is basically a Bad Seed rehash.
Yeah.
Which, it's really Macaulay Culkin doing the same goddamn things to people, except really hurting them.
Except it's like a comedy. Okay, moving on.
Oh, wait, we didn't want to talk about anything else in Home Alone 2?
Well, we don't
like
have
Tim Curry and Brenda Fricker as the homeless pigeon lady.
Oh, you know what? I did get emotional with the pigeon lady.
She was Brenda Fricker's amazing, but and that's kind of fresh off her Oscar win for My Left Foot.
Okay, moving on. We watched Kimmy with Zoe Kravitz.
Yes, directed by Steven Soderbergh, an HBO Max release that we missed, I think, because of Berlin. But
we received comments about reviewing it, which of course makes me think people think it's bad and we're going to make fun of it. I didn't think it was laughable bad. It was kind of interesting, but it felt very familiar.
It felt familiar because it's the Hitchcock's Rear Window, it's Disturbia, it's
that Amy Adams movie,
The Woman in the Window, it's The Voyeurs, which you didn't watch with Sydney Sweet. It is interesting. I find it hard to believe that this agoraphobic woman who's gorgeous also has blue hair.
The hair threw me off.
The upkeep of that hair, because there's one of the plot points is that about her dentitia. And it's like, well, she also wouldn't have that kind of hair if she was so adamant.
Well, it wouldn't be such a good, It like if she's bleaching her own hair, it wouldn't look that even.
And what's funny is we watched that the day after Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, because Macaulay Culkin's older brother in that movie is an actor that pops up, is the man that tries to save her in the end of Kimmy. That fleshy white man, I forget his name.
That's a Culkin?
No, that he played Culkin's older brother.
Oh, yes. He played, yes.
And his name is escaping me.
Yes.
That said, I think I'm starting to really enjoy Zoe Kravitz. Between this, I don't think she was the best Catwoman ever, but I think she's kind of fascinating on screen.
I want to believe that the past few weeks she's been rocking bangs, and I hope they're clip-ins.
Well, tonight at the Oscars, I thought they were trying to have her styled like Audrey Hepburn.
She looked pretty.
She's
Moving
gorgeous.
on, we watched Mannequin 2 on the Run. Oh. Okay, I said this because we reviewed... Oh, no, we talked about this on the podcast. There was a movie about going to hell with
Christy Swanson. Isn't it Highway to Hell?
Highway to Hell.
Yeah.
That lady has no... Like, she literally could be a mannequin. There's nothing to her. She has no personality.
I guess she's well cast. To me, she was always the weakest part of Higher Learning. Or always. I've only seen it once, and that was recently. She's the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I don't think I watched that movie. But that lady has nothing. She's beautiful, but she has no
But I
personality.
mean, I felt the same about Kim Cattrall in the original Mannequin.
I recall liking the original. Well, Mannequin 2 is a joke. It is so outrageous. But I will say, I thought the main guy was very cute.
Okay, I'm forgetting his name now.
Yeah, I thought he was really cute. And then, of course, Hollywood Montrose.
Meshack Taylor.
Meshack Taylor, who
Although-
we love from Designing Women.
Although, he wasn't living right.
Yeah, because we're the same age
And
in that role. And I was like, I don't know about this one, brother.
You're talking about William Ragsdale, who is the lead.
Yeah. Okay, you watched something called Women Who Kill?
Yeah, so if you go to Mubi right now, they're having a retrospective of documentaries directed by Lee Grant mostly in the 1980s. Okay, Lee Grant is a fabulous, fantastic actress, and of course a friend of Dorothy. She won an Oscar Best Supporting for Shampoo, directed by Hal Ashby, starring Warren Beatty and Julie Christie in 1975. I didn't know this because I watched Women Who Kill mainly because I wanted you to watch the documentary What Sex Am I?
Okay.
Which is directed by her, and that we still have a chance to watch that. So I watched Women Who Kill, which has her interviewing 7 different women in the prison system in LA and New York. I think she's a fantastic narrator in documentaries, but out of the women she interviews, one of them is Leslie Ann Houghton, who is, of course, one of the Manson girls. And it's strange to hear her kind of take Leslie to task, who's also a good friend of John Waters now, and still has not been released from prison. Leslie, was part of the Manson girls that killed Sharon Tate. Sharon Tate was a co-star of Lee Grant's in Valley of the Dolls, which I find interesting. But this relates to some other things on this list. I was hungry to see Lee Grant in a movie I'd never seen before, and I didn't realize she won Best Actress in Cannes for her first role in Detective Story, a William Wyler film from 1951 starring Kirk Douglas, and she plays a shoplifter who's and she got an Oscar nod for that role too. And then I didn't realize she was blacklisted for 12 years after that during the McCarthy era because her husband was named as a communist, and she was subsequently blacklisted until the late 60s. Anyway.
To keep time, I'm just going to keep pace. So Down and Out in America.
That's the documentary she won an Oscar for in 1987, but the doc came out in 85, I think. Anyway, that she's interviewing people. It's about the effects of Reaganomics, but it's kind of fascinating to watch. She's catching in real time the depletion of the farming industry in the Midwest, and all of these things we're really paying the price for now in significant ways. And of course, there was cinema then. I remember Sam Shepard's Country. We're kind of dealing with this firsthand, but just the ripple effects of how certain procedures change governmentally, and the ripple effects of that was, to use Reby Jackson's word, devastational. But again, I think that very well done documentaries, and I think that she should be as equally known for those. I feel like people aren't talking about Lee Grant as a documentarian still.
Next, Letters from the Big Man.
Looking up Lee Grant, she did Thomas Pynchon adaptation, but I think Portnoy's Complaint, and I noticed Karen Black was in it. And I realized I hadn't seen a Karen Black movie in a while, and I watched Letters from the Big Man, of which Karen Black has only a cameo. It's a 2011 film that I missed at Sundance that year, starring Lily Rabe, and it's credited as the most realistic narrative about Bigfoot ever made, and I was so bored. Bored. Christopher Munch directed it.
Okay, Detective Story.
I already talked about it. You weren't listening.
Azor.
Azor was a film I missed in Berlin 2021, also on Mubi, from Argentina. It's about a Swiss banker who goes to find his partner who's disappeared in 1980 Buenos Aires, which is, of course, under a dictatorship. And it's kind of this slow burn thriller that was also, I think, really well done, especially because it's the first film.
Moving on to projects of interest, something called Teddy.
Kid Cudi has announced that he's creating his directorial debut. nothing. He hasn't. I think with Netflix, he hasn't revealed any details, but he said it's like if his song "Pursuit of Happiness" was a film, and of course, I love that song. Well, the remix with MGMT.
Something called Necrocosm.
Panos Cosmatos would be his third film. He's reteaming with Andrea Riseborough. Surprisingly, you haven't seen Mandy, the 2018 Nicolas Cage film that kind of resurrected Cage a bit, which is, I think, a really fun movie. But yes, he's doing another film. And he's also the son of George P. Cosmatos.
The Parenting.
Parker Posey has just joined the cast of The Parenting, directed by Craig Johnson. It's about a gay couple who arrange to have their parents meet at this hotel that ends up being haunted. Parker Posey is the woman who works at the hotel, and some of the parents are played by Brian Cox and Lisa Kudrow. I'm forgetting the other two, but that sounds fantastic.
And then something called Blonde.
Oh, Andrew Dominik's Blonde, which has been in the can for a long time now. It stars Ana de Armas as Marilyn Monroe. And I've read the book by Joyce Carol Oates. And if you haven't read that, it's a fantastic fictional narrative about Monroe. And I think Joyce Carol Oates is, a supremely talented writer. I recommend reading that. But it's a Netflix film, and it's received an NC-17 rating. Like officially.
Okay, we have an entry in the obituary section. Taylor Hawkins from the band Foo Fighters passed away at the age of 50.
Which, they just had that movie come out.
The movie's called...
Wasn't it Studio 666?
666, which when we mentioned it last week, I believe, or the week before, I had said that I used to have a crush on the guitarist or the drummer. Oh, now I'm embarrassed. Anyway, the person I was talking about was Taylor Hawkins.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, he's so young.
Yeah, only 50, but I think, didn't they say toxicology came back, or there were 10 substances in his body?
I don't know, or we don't know the specifics of the surrounding his death, but that just made me think that, a lot of people self-medicate.
Yeah. And
a lot of y'all are on prescription medication for, some of y'all are on psychotropic drugs combined with drugs to treat like chronic, whether it's high blood pressure, glaucoma, people are on all kinds of prescription medication, and then they go out and they smoke marijuana, they use Molly, they do all this shit, inhale poppers and use Viagra and all this. People do all this shit, and it's like, there is a reason when you go see your primary care provider, they ask you what medications you're on. Mm-hmm. It's to try to get a sense of what's going on. And, pharmacists are really good resources. Mm-hmm. If you're afraid to talk to your doctor, you can go to the pharmacist and ask them, like, this is what I'm taking. And they will help you understand, like, why you shouldn't do certain things. But I think, it's like some of y'all don't even know how to scramble eggs properly, and you're out here like just taking all these pills and thinking that it's okay, and drinking too much. And some of y'all have like issues with, like there are people with serious like liver and kidney issues from like childhood. And then because it's been well managed for a long time, they think that now they can be out here and just drink all the goddamn time and take all these drugs. And I'm not implying that that's what Taylor Hawkins was doing, but you telling me about all these drugs in his system made me think that we need to be careful. Like, people need to be careful and talk to your prescriber about all the things you're doing.
Well, it's just, they were about to perform. I was reading in Bogota.
I went off on a rant that has nothing to do with Taylor Hawkins, but
you did. But it's just like, can you imagine just shocking.
Well, it's devastating, but it's just scary. And these kind of things are always a reminder of like,
of course. Yeah, of course.
We need to take better care of ourselves. And we're not healthcare professionals, most of us, right? Like, we're not pharmacologists. We're not pharmacists. We're not medical doctors. Like, stop playing with this shit. I don't know what this man was on, but...
No, but, I think it's also... We're coming off of we're not coming off. It's still going on. But, it's been a rough 2 years, no matter what your profession or place in life is. It's I think affected us in ways that maybe we haven't realized yet either.
And maybe he wanted to die, and you know me, if that's what he wanted, then I'm happy he has it. But we need to take a quick break. Hold on. Okay, we're back. So, no commercial, obviously.
Well, one day there might be sponsors.
One day there might be a sponsor. Yeah, you know what? Who would sponsor us?
Wait, what are most of the sponsors? Foursquare.
Black Box Wine.
Oh, yeah. Come through, girl.
No, I'm asking who would be good sponsors for us? Black Box Wine.
Mubi.
What's that brand of yogurt I like? The one that makes the Greek honey.
Oh yeah, there's some in there right now. Go look in the fridge. Greek Gods or whatever.
Greek God, yeah.
Kino Lorber, Criterion Collection.
Anyway, we're talking about the Oscars.
IMDb.
Do we know, is it the 75th annual or the 74th or...
Oh, I don't know.
I don't fucking know. Anyway, we were going to watch it at home, and then I thought, let's go watch it at our local gay bar.
Precinct.
Which was Precinct. So we went to Precinct to watch the 94th Academy Awards. And that was interesting.
Well, I grew up where this was in my household, like we would watch the Oscars.
The last time we watched the Oscars was when we lived in Westchester.
At 2016, I had Yolanda Ross over.
Yeah.
And someone else, an Iranian director, Roxara, I'm forgetting her last name.
That's the year that Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty erroneously announced La La Land as being picture of the year when it was actually Moonlight.
Joseph was so annoyed, I remember, because every time La La Land came up, Yolanda and I were like groaning and like screaming. And
But yeah, we watched it at a gay bar. I have to say, so first of all, what do we think about awards? I know for me, like, I don't think they matter. I don't. I think it's all bullshit. Like, these people who vote on this shit, I just don't know how you can say something is the best when you haven't seen all the things.
I agree.
Or most of the things.
Oh, I agree.
None of these people are watching hundreds of movies a year. They're all just watching whatever has buzz, and then from the 20 films that have buzz, they're picking. And it's all about like who knows who and who works for what.
Sure.
And
even being part of, because I'm a nobody, and being part of the LA Film Critics Association and going through that awards process, I was shocked at how many people had not watched so many things.
I just don't. They should call it like industry favorites. It's just industry favorites. It's like all these people who vote are just picking from their favorites, and it's not even their favorite movies. It's like, well, I'm close friends with this director or this costume designer I worked with this makeup artist, so that's who I'm voting for. That's all it is. It's just favorites.
It's favorites. That's why Meryl Streep has been nominated. I'm sorry, gays. Meryl Streep is not the best actress out there of her age or any age, but we have this body of people that is selling this image of a certain person because they're all interested in watching all of her shit.
It's just such bullshit. And then it's also, to me, such a slap in the face because they give an award for Best International Film, but it's like, the best lead performance. Like, well, for U.S. films, because sometimes they nominate foreign language films.
Every now and then. But it's just like, you can't tell me that... It's the only non-English language performance they've watched because it had buzz somewhere. That's the only...
It's just so stupid because it's like there are so many great performances, films, cinematographers, editors, makeup artists making films all over the globe. And then particularly with the Oscars... It's like
the Oscars.
It all boils down to these 10 films that were popular in the U.S. for the most part. I mean, I didn't watch Dune. I didn't watch Coda. I didn't watch what's the other big one? Coda. Oh, Belfast.
Okay, I've seen everything that was nominated.
You saw everything.
Yeah.
So I can't say who deserved what, but and I don't even think it's worth talking about the winners. I was just going to run down my notes, and then you didn't take any.
I didn't take any, but the one thing that you stepped out to pee on that I enjoyed was seeing Megan Thee Stallion perform, because I like her.
Okay, I'm just going to go through my notes, and then you can chime in.
Okay.
I thought the best part of the Oscars this year was the music. Like, there was a DJ, and a lot of it was like classic, like R&B, soul, funk music. I really enjoyed the music that was playing between commercial breaks.
Sets, yeah.
Okay, you went to the bathroom when Regina King came out, and she did this entire bit where she starts off saying something to the effect of like...
Is that when she called the men out?
Yes.
Okay.
The bit was that, of course, everyone's been tested for COVID, but we skipped a few people, and we need to get these tests done so we can move on. So I'm going to call your name, and when I call your name, please come up to the stage. So she calls all the men you saw on stage, including Tyler Perry. Mm-hmm. And then it becomes clear by like the third or fourth person she calls that she's calling up men she finds attractive. Because then she calls up another person, but then she goes, no, because your wife is here, never mind. And then she just keeps going and like touching. That's when she was like rubbing down Josh Brolin and Jason Momoa. I thought that shit was so inappropriate. I thought it was so inappropriate. It's like sexual harassment, and I don't think it's appropriate, as a gay man who works primarily around women. Mm-hmm. And I know that there isn't parity in sort of like, clearly historically men have been abusive and awful towards women. So I'm not trying to imply that it's equal, but as a gay man who works primarily around women can also be everyone can be a fucking creep.
Yeah.
And I think having Regina King up there with Regina Hall, I'm sorry, up there doing this bit in 2022, it just felt so like 2000 and late. It felt, and then Tyler Perry's gay ass up there and I just thought like, I can't believe he agreed to let her drag him up there for this bit because he looks stupid.
Well, I think it looked good for his heterosexualization. But who I thought looked like a doofus? Timothée Chalamet. Where are you? You're at the Oscars and that's what you're wearing? Ugh.
The Oscars was doing something else, or something that I guess I've never noticed. I don't know if this is something they always do, but they sort of honored like the anniversary of certain films and then had people from that film come to present the next award.
That were still alive, yeah.
So then they did like, it's the 30th anniversary of White Men Can't Jump. So they have Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson, and Rosie Perez come out and then introduce an award. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a cute idea.
Interesting, yeah.
Although, we'll get to it because I want to talk about the top 5 list. But I wanted to say from that, Wesley Snipes looks good.
He does look good.
I don't know what kind of like greens he's eating or what kind of...
Well, you know what? He looks fit, but not like he is trying to be Blade anymore.
Because how old is he?
I think that men... when you do things to your body, it ages you, especially white men.
Wesley is 59.
Yeah, he looks great.
I thought he looked great. And, I've really enjoyed him in the last few things I've seen him in.
But in comparison, Woody Harrelson didn't look bad either. He's looked the same.
No, Woody looks good too. He
looked the same for a long time.
And so did Rosie actually. They all look good. So Dune won a lot of awards. I don't know how many.
All the technical achievements, yeah.
But can I just tell you, I still don't want to see Dune. Do you know the night before we moved out of our old house, mm-hmm. that was the night before, I put on Dune. Mm-hmm. And when I tell you that shit could not grab my attention, you know what I think it is? It looks dry. And then you had said like it's based on a book. I know it's based on a book, but you said that it's only like one part of
the first book. So
then I thought, I don't want to watch this. I don't like watching stories. Maybe that's why I don't want I haven't finished Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, or it's like there's some I'm not going to finish the story if I watch this movie. I have to watch 10 of them. So I think my aversion to Dune is partially that, but even after winning all of these awards, I have zero interest in watching Dune.
I saw it in Venice, and I did read the book right beforehand. And it was one of those screenings at this major fucking film festival. They took all our phones and watched it at 9 a.m. It's a beautifully shot, crafted film. that does seem a little bit dull, and I don't think plays into the kind of the campiness of it, where you have names of like Paul and Lady Jessica.
Who's the lady from?
Charlotte Rampling's great in it, though.
Who's the lady from West Side Story?
Ariana.
The lead.
Oh, Rachel, is it Zegler?
Yes. Okay, so she presented with some guy who was like 5 feet taller than her. And they give this awkward little like intro where he's like, God, growing up, I never dreamed that I would be on this stage. And she goes, yeah, 6 days ago, I never dreamed I'd be on the stage, because the gag is she had said she wasn't invited to the Oscars, even though West Side Story was nominated for multiple awards.
Including Best Picture.
And then, of course, they invite her and then let her present. But seeing her on the stage, I thought, like, God, I really didn't like her in West Side Story. And she is little.
She's
either that man is 8 feet tall or she's super little.
She's tiny. She reminded me a little bit of Brooke Adams from the 70s.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
You do, but okay.
Oh my God. How many award shows do we have to go through where it's like these groups of people get up there to give their acceptance speech, and there's always the one who talks too long, and then the other three can't get a word in, and then the music plays.
Yeah.
I know the production staff tell all of these people, look.
You do, but in the moment, like, it's such a big deal for these people, you know, it's hard. I get it.
Yeah, you would have a hard time because when I tell you we're running over, you don't care. You just keep talking, and then it's like, well, I guess I'm going to end it. Like, because this fool's not going to stop. And it's like, it doesn't matter if there's a timer. Doesn't matter if someone warned you. You're just going to try to finish your thought. But it's so selfish because then it's like the other people don't get to talk. And then as an audience, it's cringy. Like, it's really uncomfortable witnessing someone not manage their time well and then rob other people. I mean, when you do it, it's not it's not the same because you're not robbing anyone of their time because I don't want to keep talking. But it's like, how many speeches did we watch that got cut off and then other people didn't get to speak?
I think in a group thing, yes, that's awkward. I think if you're alone accepting something, that's different.
Child, what's that girl's name who's going to be in Little Mermaid? Haley Bennett? Bailey?
Bailey.
Is her name Haley Berry?
It's Chloe.
Chloe X Haley?
Yes,
I'm old.
which
I don't know.
That album is fantastic, and
anyway, she's gorgeous, talented singer, but that girl came out half naked, and you know I'm not a prude, but you could see her draws. Like, I know Disney is not happy with her to come out in the Oscars dressed like that, and as she was walking, you could see her undergarment.
Yes, you could. Where was that where her and her sister performed Ungodly Hour? Oh my God.
What did we watch?
I was transfixed.
Yeah, they're super talented.
And that is such a good album. But Halle, what's her last name though? Bailey.
Bailey.
Yeah.
Halle Bailey. Okay, so Best Supporting Actor went to
Troy Kotzer from
for
Coda.
Coda, who is a deaf gentleman.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny because he gave a speech, and of course there was an interpreter speaking for him. But I thought it was funny because he went way over.
He sure did.
And then the lady who presented to him, who was that lady?
The actress from Minari.
She was so cute because she didn't take the cue that she needed to get off the stage because she was still in camera shot of him. So the entire time she's holding his award, staring at him like a little puppy. I thought that was super cute. But yeah, I thought it was funny. Like, they're not going to kick this deaf guy off. Because if they play the music, he's not going to hear it anyway.
Right. Yoon Jung.
But she was adorable.
Yes, she was. She stood right by him and was intently...
Okay, the director of Drive My Car...
Ryosuke Hamaguchi.
He won for Best Director, right?
He won Best International...
Oh, Best International.
Language
When
film.
he gave his acceptance speech, he had a woman there with a notepad. What the fuck was she writing on her notepad?
He did speak in Japanese, so I thought he was going to... I thought she was supposed to translate the additional part of his message, but they didn't give her time to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. That looks so awkward.
It did.
The lady who wrote Coda...
Mm-hmm. Sean, what's her name?
Her dress was really nice. She wore like a mirror dress, which I thought was funny because we just talked about RuPaul's Drag Race and the theme was mirror, mirror.
Sean Hader.
And I thought her dress would have been a better choice than any of the dresses those queens wore on the last episode of Drag
Yes,
Race.
I agree.
Okay. During the ceremony, they had 2 little segments where they did like an audience pick for the top 5. It was like the top 5 movie moments and then the top most memorable
Moments like across all time.
across all cinematic time.
Because it had Dreamgirls was number 4,
and then like something from like the Avengers.
the rest was Marvel shit.
And even people in the room with us, like at the bar, were like laughing. Like, these movies are bad. Like, I can't. But that was so stupid. Okay, Billie Eilish, and I didn't realize Phineas is her brother.
Yeah.
But I guess she's like, he is her creative partner, I guess.
Yeah.
I did not know they were siblings. But, and I don't care. I think that James Bond song is kind of boring. I think Billie Eilish looked kind of crazy.
Well, it looked like she was wearing a curtain.
A black curtain. But they both had terrible hair. Her brother, that shit looked like a wig.
It looked like a wig.
I don't think it was, but it was terrible. Her hair looked, that old black ass hair.
That Betty Page wig.
It wasn't even good like a Betty Page wig. It looked like,
Well, it was.
that's a young lady. Mm-hmm. And she dresses and is styled like a 48-year-old woman who's trying to be a little jazzy. Like,
Well, no, that looked like a shower curtain to me. It did not. It was not a cute dress.
no, but she looks like those middle-aged ladies who still like want to have like fashion color hair, and
With
they wear like
a muumuu.
yeah, with like interesting like silhouettes. I don't know.
Well, to be fair, her brand is all about not revealing what her body looks like, which I think is
Fair.
interesting and progressive. But I mean, that was a strange outfit.
The hosts were Amy Schumer, Wanda Sykes, and Regina Hall.
All 3 who I tend to like,
And
especially.
I don't know what their contribution to the ceremony was very sporadic.
It was.
And they didn't feel like hosts. They just felt like
a clown act.
We should mention that the controversy surrounding the 8 categories that were not televised was remedied by very quickly showing all the nominees and then showing a portion of their acceptance speech.
Yes.
Which was actually nice because it just clipped along very quickly.
Yeah.
But I thought, they could have given those categories more time and not have these stupid skits.
Yeah.
Because one of the skits was Regina Hall and Wanda Sykes come out and give consolation prizes. One of them was a screener of a film no one saw, The Last Duel. That was shady.
Yeah.
Then Wanda Sykes gave someone something like a Texas ballad that was like shredded. I didn't think that was funny. And then Regina Hall gives Judi Dench like an inspirational quote.
Because she
lost. And the quote was from Kim Kardashian and it said, "Work harder."
Yeah.
But all I could think of was like Judi Dench's teeth.
Yeah.
I can't believe that lady must have money.
I would hope so.
They couldn't get her like at least some partials for
I don't know. It did.
Didn't they look crazy?
It did.
They look crazy.
But she's old.
Okay, but old people wear dentures.
Sure.
Young people wear dentures. She could have got those Instagram teeth that for $75 you
I don't know that Judi Dench cares about that, but sure, it did look like the dentisha was...
Her mouth looked crazy.
Distracting, yeah.
Okay. I think what everyone will be talking about tomorrow around the virtual cooler is Will Smith slapping the shit out of Chris Rock.
Yeah.
So Chris Rock got up there and announced, I forget what award.
Wasn't it Best Documentary? Yeah, because Questlove won.
That's right. And then he decides to make a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith.
It's not historically, it's not the first time he has made a joke about Jada at the Oscars either.
No, he made fun of her about in
2016.
The Oscars So White.
I think Oscars So White was 2014.
Oh, wait.
But
when Jada Pinkett boycotted the Oscars, and then Chris Rock said, that would be like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he has a history of like picking on Jada Pinkett. And then in tonight's ceremony, because, Jada Pinkett has a buzzed head because she suffers from alopecia. So she just chooses to buzz it off, which is a very common issue. And, I'm not trying to be we'll get into it. But he goes, oh, Jada Pinkett Smith, nice, like getting ready for G.I. Jane 2. It wasn't a funny joke.
No, and she rolled her eyes so hard.
She rolled her eyes, and then Will Smith made a mean face, and then Will Smith gets up because he's sitting front. He and Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith, Nicole Kidman, and Keith Urban were sitting like on the stage.
Yeah, Denzel is up there too.
Denzel was on the stage too, and Will Smith gets up, walks to Chris Rock, slaps him, and then the camera goes away, like dark. And then the sound gets cut off.
Yeah.
So you can't hear...
You can't hear Chris Rock say...
Will Smith just slapped the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But he said it because people in the audience, it was reported by Variety, said that that's what he said. Then they still cut off the sound, but you can see Will Smith mouth the words, "Keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth." And then the sound comes back on, and Chris Rock said, "Wow, this will be the greatest night of television ever."
Yeah, something like that.
Or something like that. And then the mood changes. He looks like he's shell-shocked.
He looks shook, yeah.
And then he proceeds, and then it's just awkward.
Because you could tell there was more he was supposed to say, and he goes, "Let's just go to the nominees."
Yeah. So all I have to say is like, violence is never the answer.
It was a bold move, yes.
But no one's going to, I mean, you can't really knock Will Smith for defending his wife. I mean.
Well, it's funny being a bald man, how people will go out of their way to talk about your bald head. And it's like, why?
I also feel like as a black man on this stage, knowing that there aren't that many black people represented at the Oscars historically, even tonight,
even tonight where there are a lot of black nominees, still in percentage wise,
so
not equal.
So as a black man to get on that stage at the Oscars and choose to pick on a black woman about her hair when Chris Rock made a documentary about black women and their hair,
yeah,
I think is so reckless and so disrespectful. And I talk about people's looks a lot, but I'm a beauty professional and I don't talk, well, I am.
Sure.
And I don't talk about things people can't help. I'm not going to talk about someone's weight, or their body shape, or the shape of their nose, or the way their hair grows. Like, that's not, it's a low blow. It's not funny. I'm not a comedian, but Chris Rock is. And I just think I don't care for Jada Pinkett Smith. I'm not a Jada Pinkett Smith stan, but I think it's disrespectful to talk about this woman's hair as a black man. First of all, she looks beautiful.
She does.
And you're also attacking a lot of black women have buzzed heads.
Yeah.
For various reasons.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's due to tension alopecia, wearing weaves, like wearing very tight braids and having weaves sewn in over the years, or from relaxers, has caused hair loss. So a lot of women rock very short styles and they look great. So for him to say that just seems so disrespectful. And then to attack not only a woman you've already made fun of once, but the wife of probably the most powerful black male actor is just like, what are you thinking? And the joke wasn't funny. Yeah. Now, I can't say, how Chris Rock, he has a joke about how OJ killing his wife, he doesn't condone murder, but I understand. Mm-hmm. I feel like, well, Chris, you should understand that why Will Smith slapped the shit out of you. You gonna talk about this man's wife, his black wife, about her hair, looking great with her bald head.
I don't know that it was the wisest move, but it was a bold move. It was a statement.
I'm so stuck on how this black man thought that this made sense. To talk about this black woman, and then so many other black women have a very similar hairstyle. Like, why would you? And then you made a documentary about black women and their hair.
But again, I think it goes back to, we think it's okay to criticize people's bald heads. Like, as a bald man.
Oh, yes.
I'm often shocked because I forget, I walk around in this world just being me, and people will make comments, whether it's fetishizing it or, I've had people straight up ask me oh, do you have cancer?
Well, I'm very sensitive to it because I choose to have a bald head most of the time. I have hair at the moment, but I generally choose to have a bald head. And I've always been sensitive to people's comments about people being bald because it it always made me feel like you're saying there's something wrong.
Right.
And it makes me feel unattractive because I like being bald. So the fact that I can, like, I know for someone who chooses to be bald and can grow hair, you're like, well, when just grow hair. So I get it, but I also feel like, yeah, it's just a lame joke. It's like making fun of someone because they're fat. Like,
Well, it's just like that's all you got.
right? Like, what year is it that you have to make fun of? Like, this lady, she looks great with her bald head, and a lot of people rock bald heads who don't have to.
People
like,
are because people. I've been in your presence, where people have made comments about like, oh, saying to you that Joseph looks so much better with hair, or I'll wear like I've done Keith Urban for Halloween, or this past Halloween I was Kurt Cobain with like basically a blonde fright wig, and you will not believe how people say to me like it's a pity you don't have hair.
Well, I'm very, it's not about me, but I'm very sensitive about my hair because whenever I grow my hair out like I have now, people make comments like what you just said, like, oh, you look so much better with hair. Or people will message me like, oh, you should not cut your hair. You look so much better. Like, what?
Oh yeah, no, that's also...
Because it's like, I actually hate having hair. That's why I usually have a bald head.
Well, okay, so funny thing, Joseph's experimenting on my head right now.
The reason Nick has been wearing hoodies and hats in all of our recent videos is because he's growing his hair out because I'm going to install a unit. Mm-hmm. Like
which will document.
Like, a la John Travolta or Nicolas Cage.
It'll look better.
Or almost, many, many male actors in Hollywood wear lace front units that they adhere to the top of their head. And then their natural hair is grown out and blended in. And it looks great. And I've always wanted to play with those. And it never occurred to me to ask you until recently. And I'm not even sure what inspired me to do it. Because I asked once before and you were like, well, there's not really a good time for me to grow out my hair. And then with the pandemic, there was no good time because you had, or I don't know why now worked, but.
Well, we're making it work. Well, I just decided to do it. And, it's weird because I accepted and like myself as a bald person, so it's not something I want to feel like I'm dependent upon. But I'm also, I haven't had hair in 20 years. So.
You also shave your head like every other day.
Yeah, so it's a very weird.
So you haven't touched your head in 3 weeks?
Oh, almost a month now. A month this week.
Yeah.
So it's a weird feeling, but
it's interesting because you don't look that different to me, except that you keep playing with your head.
Oh, it's so weird to feel.
But when I look at you, it doesn't look that. Well, because the way your hair looks now, a lot of men look like that.
Yeah, I know, but I hate it.
I know you don't like it, but it's not if you were to walk outside, people wouldn't stare at you.
No, of course not. But again, I think it's how you're treated. I mean, I lost my hair when I was 20, so how all their 20-year-olds treat you is like you're a leper.
Right.
So, it's fine. But I'm curious to see, but I also, when we record that experience, I'm going to be very clear that this is not me doing it because I think there's anything wrong with being bald.
Well, moving on to my last note, the obituary section of the Oscars in memoriam was so weird because they had like a choir dressed up like they work in an office wearing these like monochromatic suits doing gospel. And there was a point where they were taking us to church. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, like, why is the Oscars taking me to church right now? And then it ended with Jill Scott on the mic giving, like, a spoken word, offering us, like, a spoken word piece.
Not even.
And then didn't sing. I don't know.
And cinched all hell. But
she looked great.
She looked good, but it's like, wow, you came out here for all that. Okay.
That's all I have about the Oscars.
We didn't talk. So Best Supporting Actress went to Ariana DeBose, my favorite part of the West Side Story remake. I think it's interesting that 2 women have won an Oscar for playing that character.
I didn't write down. I don't care about who won. I really don't. This shit does not matter to me at all.
It doesn't matter to me either, but I think that it affords certain opportunities for certain things. I was very appreciative of Jessica Chastain's speech.
Oh, her acceptance speech calling out the LGBTQ community and
ongoing legislation in reference to what's happening in Florida.
Oh, when Amy Schumer was talking about something and then said, "Oh, and
there's an ongoing genocide in the Ukraine, but here's the next award.
And women are losing their rights, but here's the next nominee." I thought that was good. But overall,
we didn't talk about Will Smith's Oscar speech.
It was very long.
So, of course, he won. You could tell he was trying to work through, he needed to address what happened.
He apologized to the Academy. He said that, like Richard Williams, he played in the movie, he won the Oscar for, he said that like he felt the need to protect his family, which was, I'm assuming, him trying to justify his behavior 30 minutes prior. It was long. He cried. I haven't seen the movie, so it was hard for me to get into his.
I think he did a good job in that film, and I think that, you know, for him and his stature, it's a deserved accolade. But
I saw all of the performances except his, right?
I think,
in
Best Actor category.
Yeah,
okay.
So I don't know. I don't have an opinion.
I thought, you know, it did run on too long, but I think he needed that time to save a little face. Because he also, you know, had to honor the man that he's playing, and the Williams sisters who were there in the audience were looking very stone-faced until he kind of cracked a joke towards the end of it. But
anything else about the Oscars? I'm kind of tired.
Okay, no.
And we've run over.
We have.
But what are you reading right now?
I'm reading, well, no, Cannes will be announcing titles soon, but I'm trying to kind of pre-prep a few things which could possibly be there. Agnieszka Smokzinska is directing an English language debut, her third film, The Silent Twins, starring Letitia Wright and Tamara Lawson. It's based on an actual life case of these two twins that kind of have their own language in life and go on like this crime spree they get arrested for. But it's based on a book by an investigative journalist named Marjorie Wallace, who's played by Jodie May in the film, called The Silent Twins, and it's pretty fascinating.
Do you have a quote?
The quote I was going to come up with was from Chris Rock, because of what happened. I'm trying to think what I found, though. Chris Rock. You can only offend me if you mean something to me.
Oh, interesting.
Which, in light of, I guess he means something to the Smiths, but...
No. Wait, whose quote is that?
Chris Rock.
You can only offend me
if you mean something to me.
And you're saying he means something to the Smiths.
Yeah, because they took it upon themselves to make a point. But
oh, okay. Anything else?
No.
Bye.